As someone who's pretty aware of the overconsumption that's prevalent, especially when it comes to videos like this one, I decided that if I'm gonna make a guide like this, I'm only gonna include stuff that I find genuinely useful, and in this case, that's super affordable too. So no, this video isn't sponsored by Temu, as hard as they've been trying, nor AliExpress. Again, they've been offering as well. In fact, this video is sponsored by no one. If you want to support me not needing to take Temu bucks, please do check out the affiliate links in the description when buying, especially from Amazon. Or check out the YouTube memberships or Patreon if you want to support directly. Right, let's get into it. The first thing is something that I bought for myself. In fact, they're so useful that I bought a handful of them. This is an HDMI EDID emulator. EDID being the extended display identification data, basically the info that your monitor tells your PC so that it knows what resolutions and refresh rates are supported. Why would you need to emulate that though? Well, if like me, you have a home server, especially custom built ones that are just old PCs, and in particular you run virtual machines, you'll know that if you try and remote desktop into a headless machine like that, you'll just end up having a pretty bad time. It doesn't like creating a display output when there's no display connected, and often hooking up a monitor is just more hassle than it's worth, or even not possible depending on what you've got. That's where these little things come in. Plug one in, and as if by magic, the system thinks there's a monitor connected. You can get a bunch of different resolution versions. This one is 800p, it's like 4:3, that's plenty, but some claim 1080p and even 4K, which seems like a bit of a stretch, but there you go. These are really cheap. I found like 6-pack for just over a tenner, but individual ones can be close to a $5. That's linked in the description if you want one. Next up is another port, this time USB. This little thing is a really useful USB voltage and current meter. This one in particular can take power in from both the USB-A ports and or a Type-C ports, or even micro USB, and outputs either to the Type-A port on the back or to the USB-C port on the bottom. And basically, it can measure the voltage and current that the USB port is outputting and what the device is accepting. The really cool bit though is that it can also log that information, which means that you can use this to capacity test battery powered devices. If you run your phone down to 0% and turn it off, and then plug it in via this, you can check how much charge goes in. Now of course that isn't perfect, as the phone, especially if it's on, will use some of that power, and even if it's off it can still use a little bit of the power to show like a charging symbol on the screen, and there are also charging losses too, but it should give you a pretty good idea. It also works for things like rechargeable lights like these ones, to know how the batteries in them are doing. This has helped me quite a few times, so again, if you want one, link in the description. And actually, speaking of rechargeable lights, my next pick is just that, an inspection light. These have magnets on at very least the bases, if not the backs too, have an adjustable angle for the main beam, and almost always have a spotlight on the top too. So if, like me, you find yourself neck deep in an engine bay, well, this thing is absolutely invaluable. The fact that it's so small, rechargeable and magnetic too, makes it really useful, or a really useful tool, and actually not just for cars, but like trying to look under your sofa for a little fidget ball that you happen to drop, or looking behind appliances, building PCs, whatever you want, this is pretty handy for. While this Unilight one that I have is definitely more than a tenner, you can get cheaper ones for right around that sort of price, like this Draper one for example, although this Unilight one is amazing, so if you do want to splash out, well, this is a pretty good option. On the more techie side actually, with at least the electronics side, picking up one of these, or in my case, an entire bag's worth, of these Node MCU boards is really handy. These are ESP boards from Espressif, and either the older 8266 or the newer ESP32, and these are basically Wi-Fi connected microcontrollers. Having a microcontroller to hand to automate something dumb is always handy, but since this is an internet connected one, if you want to make something truly smart and be able to remotely control it, well, these are perfect. Together with ESP Home, which integrates with Home Assistant really well, you can make dumb things smart while still having it be self-hosted too. My DIY bed cooler that I've just finished, video on the cards, is run from an ESP32 with ESP Home, and I've reanimated my Pomerode Enviro weather station with an ESP8266 board. So I find these things invaluable to have around for when a project idea pops into my head. I'd like to make a little keyboard tester, a sort of key switch tester, a sort of smart switch at some point, so maybe one of these boards will find its way in there fairly soon. These Node MCU boards in particular are around £6 each, or less if you buy a pack of them. Again, links in the description. And sticking with making, one of the most useful tools I needed to make the response time tools are these, a set of digital vernier calipers. These give you a really accurate way to measure stuff, which if you happen to, say, need to 3D print cases like I did, being able to measure how big a USB-C port is to cut a hole for it in your model, it's actually really handy, and these are great for that. Or, I don't know, measure the diameter of your home plumbing so you can buy the right size to replace it, or check how big a bolt is. Anything like that, these things are perfect. I find myself grabbing for these an awful lot, and considering the cheapest ones are literally a £5, well, I think that's a great deal. My metal ones were more like 20 quid, but that's still a great deal, and they're reasonably accurate considering how cheap they are too. Something I bet you've not seen before though is these. These are NFC stickers. YouTube sent me these like years ago now, but you can pick up a pack of like 50 of them for a tenner. And this isn't just for like payments and hotel key cards. With just one of these tags, you can have it have a text record, open a URL, link to a search or a video or a file, open an app or send an email, start navigation on maps, or even save your Wi-Fi network details so when your guests come round they can just scan that and they've got all the info. Although by far the coolest thing that you can do does need Home Assistant running, because Hast lets you create custom tags and then attach automations to them so you can scan one of these stickers and have it do, well, anything. Turn your lights off and shut your blinds because you're going away. Turn your heating down too. It's basically just a smart button that you activate by just having your phone near it. These are really cool, and for such little money, it's a really cool thing to have about. And last but certainly not least, we have these. This is my household's Fidget Toy Box, because both me and my wife have autism and ADHD, and these things help an awful lot with focusing. It sounds counterintuitive, I know, but trust me, it helps. And there's, well, let's face it, a pretty good chance that if you like watching my videos, you're probably on the spectrum too, which is why I can wholeheartedly recommend you get your own Fidget Toy Box. There's quiet ones, there's clicky ones, and actually the DIY M10 bolt with a nylock nut on the end and a captive nut in the middle, it's just so damn satisfying. Each of these, individually anyway, is well under £5, and they come highly recommended for me. So that's my list of interesting and useful tech under a tenner. But if you have anything else that you think we should know about, please do leave it in the comments below. Like I said, I'll leave links to all of this stuff in the description if you're interested, and if you happen to be buying anything else this Black Friday, do feel free to use my affiliate links in the description for Amazon, as they do help out an awful lot, don't cost you anything, and yeah, support me making videos like this, tools like I do, and yeah, all that sort of stuff. If you want to see more videos, maybe like this one, first of all, let me know in the comments. Second of all, hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell notification icon, and third, check out plenty of other videos in the end cards too. And yeah, otherwise, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, we'll see you all in the next video.